Colleen Walsh, a covert intelligence officer from a highly militarized family, has spent decades performing heroic missions unseen by her family. Misunderstood as a quitter, overshadowed by her sister, and invisible in her own home, she faces betrayal when her sister leaks classified intel. Colleen uncovers the truth, confronts the instigator and family tensions, and earns recognition for her courage, intelligence, and moral integrity. The story is about invisibility, validation, moral courage, and reconciliation. The kitchen smelled of stale coffee and lemon cleaner. Morning sunlight slanted through blinds, cutting sharp lines across the counter where my mother's hands rested, poised but idle. She said it casually, like a benign fact. "Not everyone is meant to be exceptional, sweetheart." I was 19, West Point uniform stiff across my shoulders, my spine straight with pride. The words pierced quietly, lodged in me like a splinter. My sister Erica would excel. I would fade. Years later, that quiet echo had grown into a constant hum beneath every homecoming, every holiday, every carefully posed photograph I wasn't in. My parents' silence shouted louder than their applause ever could. When Erica's promotions appeared in print, their pride was public and unapologetic. When I returned from covert missions, no one met me at the airport, as if surviving 7 months in Black Ops was no greater than missing a dentist appointment. But the world beyond our walls did see me. I had led teams into fire zones, made decisions that weighed lives in one hand and strategy in the other, and returned to the base, unseen and unheralded. Recognition wasn't required, it was irrelevant. Except now, when a call from my mother invited me to Erica's promotion ceremony, the old ache returned. "Just don't embarrass us," she said, clipped and indifferent. I packed lightly, the dress uniform folded as if waiting for a ceremony that never happened, and a soft blouse that wouldn't demand attention. My reflection in the mirror was no longer young. The lines around my mouth spoke of decisions made in desert heat, of lives carried, and of nights spent awake in quiet corners of the world. No one had ever asked about this life. No one had ever tried to see it. The drive to Fort Campbell was a meditation on absence. Gravel crunched under my boots in the VIP parking lot. The house had not changed. Same beige paint. Same flag swaying like a sentinel. Inside, my mother placed name cards on the table. "Go change your shirt. Sit next to Erica. Don't interrupt her speech." No hug. No acknowledgement. Just instruction. I scanned the walls, framed accolades of siblings, ceremonies, and accomplishments. No face that belonged to me. The last one I remembered was from 2004, the year I left West Point, not because I failed, but because I had been recruited for missions so secret they didn't exist on paper. No medals. No applause. Just invisible scars stitched into memory. And in that silence, I felt something subtle. I was still here. I was still standing. For the first time, invisibility felt like armor, not erasure. The ceremony hall smelled of polish and ceremony. Flags gleamed, brass reflected overhead lights. Erica stood at the podium like a goddess, perfect, untouchable. Applause erupted, and I remained in the back row, a shadow among family and strangers. My uniform was modest. My presence quiet, but my pulse hummed with readiness. Whispers followed me, curiosity sharp and immediate. "Who is this woman? She looks familiar." No one recognized the weight of my choices, the invisible sacrifices. When General Hammond entered, the air shifted. His eyes found me. A crisp salute, precise and deliberate. "General Walsh, it's an honor." The room stilled. Erica faltered mid-sentence. Her speech, rehearsed to perfection, now trembled under the weight of my existence. Applause faded to silence. Recognition came, not for pomp, but for truth. Afterward, Erica cornered me, voice low and sharp. "Why didn't you say something?" I lifted the scanned email, evidence of the leak she had orchestrated. She met my gaze without blinking. "You weren't supposed to win." I didn't argue. I didn't move. Silence held more gravity than anger. Understanding grew where pride once reigned. Years of invisibility had culminated in this quiet recalibration of power and respect. Later that night, I sat alone on the porch, listening to the distant brass band rehearsal. Wind rustled through the trees like memory. Tomorrow would come, and the stage would demand more than acknowledgement. Truth had its own cadence. And for the first time, I was ready to speak. The next morning brought urgency. My phone lit with an emergency alert. A classified dossier from Operation Dagger had leaked online. Metadata traced back to an internal IP my sister's. Erica's betrayal now intersected with national security. I walked into the ops room, calm but poised, muscles trained for instinctual execution. Files, systems, and forensic traces converged into one unmistakable pattern: deliberate provocation. My sister, acting out of jealousy, had triggered a chain that endangered countless lives. The room shifted under my command. Every officer, every analyst, every family member present became part of the equation. Erica didn't resist when confronted, her posture defensive yet fragile. "I thought if I erased you, I could finally be seen," she admitted. Her words carved an ache deeper than operational danger. Years of rivalry, compounded by secrecy and misjudgment, came to a head. But I didn't yield to anger. Leadership demanded clarity, not vengeance. Tracking the instigator, Derek Glade, revealed a patient, deliberate plan to exploit our family fractures. His intent was not mere sabotage, it was a siege on reputation, on legacy. We moved as a unit, father, mother, sister, and I, a family divided by past silence, now aligned by necessity. The raid was precise. Derek did not resist, merely watched as the culmination of years of strategy closed around him. In interrogation, his bitterness spilled. He wanted me gone, a shadow removed so he could ascend. I stood above the chaos, moral and methodical, as my sister realized the consequences of her envy. Pride met guilt, but the foundation of trust began to rebuild. Recognition came not through applause, but through acknowledgement, and the team's cohesion emerged from fractured bonds. The strategy conference was a stage of revelation. I addressed commanders, advisors, and observers. The room absorbed truths that had been invisible for decades: operations carried out alone, lives saved, moral choices weighed against bureaucratic expectation. Erica sat in the front row, pen poised, eyes locked on me. This was her education, watching courage, integrity, and leadership defined in action. I revealed a classified decision that had nearly ended my career, showing that true honor lies in moral clarity, not applause. Gasps spread, not for drama, but understanding. Strength could be quiet. Leadership could teach itself through integrity. Recognition arrived organically, recalibrating every assumption in the room. Family, peers, and adversaries all witnessed the emergence of a general unseen for too long. Weeks later, reconciliation came quietly. A family dinner, not for apologies, but for truth. I shared my story, my operations, my invisible victories. Erica's guilt softened into understanding. My parents acknowledged my unseen life. Life resumed. Teaching at Fort Campbell, mentoring the next generation, guiding Erica through lessons learned. Recognition was no longer about medals or applause, it was about being seen and being understood. A young cadet asked, "What's the hardest part of war?" I answered, simply, "Surviving without turning your wounds into weapons." At sunset, Erica handed me a small cake. 3 words on top: General, Sister, Teacher. No applause required. Just acknowledgement. Just being seen. Finally, I was home, not erased, not replaced, but recognized.